Thank you very much. House Chair, I understand why the representatives of imperialist forces will want to silence this voice. And that's why they will stand up to raise unnecessary questions. House Chairperson, the first remark we wish to make is that there was a very little engagement politically. If anything, people want to blackmail us about aid and all sorts of things. But they know very well that there is no reason related to any wrongdoing by South Africa which has led to USA cutting its own aid. You can't say Donald Trump must be elected today and the following day he makes executive orders and then you come here and blame the South African government as if the South African government did not do anything in between. That was a predetermined outcome where he wanted to come into office and punish South Africa for its position on Palestine and many other issues. We must be very clear that we are not going to agree to any form of bullying by anyone. It's a lie that there is farm killings in South Africa. Actually, those who are married in farms and owning farms, they kill each other for money, for policy monies. The farmers themselves kill each other for greedy reasons. The farm workers kill the farmers because they rape them in exchange for money and do not pay them, like Eugene Terreblanche did when he raped a farm worker and did not want to pay. We cannot be told that there are farm murders in South Africa when the farmers themselves are actually killing the farm workers. It was the white farmers who killed 2 women in Polokwane and fed them to the pigs. It's a complete lie that white people are being killed in South Africa. If anything, white people live in privilege, and that's what Donald Trump knows. You cannot say Donald Trump is misinformed. They've got the best intelligence equipment in the whole world. They even have a military base next to South Africa in Botswana to listen to every conversation we have. They can tell you what is in private conversation in the executive and everywhere else. They don't need AfriForum. They are using AfriForum as a scapegoat to punish us politically. And we ought to be very clear about that. When the aid came into South Africa at the first place, it was not to help Africans. It was imperialist forces putting the aid into South Africa so that they can control South Africa and use that aid to always say to you, if you take a political stand against the imperialist forces, we'll always cut the aid. So we ought to have known even then that we're not supposed to entirely rely on the USA. I'm very happy that the Minister of Health is speaking about possible interventions that can be made to avoid that aid of America. We can do with every help, but we will never accept help that say we must allow the perpetuation of white privilege. We cannot allow the whiteness to prevail in South Africa because we want to save life. We will save life. America did not save us during apartheid. Children were murdered in 1976. Children were murdered in the 80s. Where was America against apartheid? If America had anything to save an African life, it's a lie. They never wanted to save us. They were never there for us before. Palestine was there for us. Cuba was there for us. Russia was there for us. America will never choose friends for us.
Honorable
we will
member,
choose our own
your
friends.
time
Thank
is
you
now
very much.
expired. Thank you.
Country not owned by the state on behalf of the people. Why is the wealth of our country owned by the Americans, the British and the Europeans? Yet in the communities when the minerals are mined, there is poverty and disease. We must be a generation that corrects this. The mineral wealth of the country must be owned by South Africans so that we never need aid from anyone. But make no mistake, this is just the beginning. Today it is aid. Tomorrow Trump will move against trade. We must be prepared because the US wants to keep South Africa and Africa in a position of economic submission. where our prosperity is always tied to their approval. We cannot allow this. We must aggressively expand our trade relationships beyond the US market. The African continent presents immense opportunities. The BRICS alliance is open for business. Why should we continue to rely on those who see us as nothing than a pawn in their global chess game?
2001, former President of United States of America, George Bush, declared what became known as the War on Terror on Iraq and Afghanistan, stating that, I quote, "It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated." What followed was a massive disinformation campaign to justify the 2003 invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan under the pretext of locating and destroying weapons of mass destruction. Decades later, no such weapons were ever found. This invasion was about minerals and oil reserves, not weapons of mass destruction. Iraq and Afghanistan have never recovered. Cuba, Libya, Venezuela, and Chile are examples of nations that have suffered from US interventions because of their socialist policies, justified by false intelligence to advance imperialism. Cuba has endured decades of sanctions for nationalization of strategic sectors of the economy, supporting African liberation and socialism, while Libya was destroyed because Gaddafi rejected US dominance. We raise these historical facts because history must guide us in everything we do. When Donald Trump declares that, I open quote, "bad things are happening in South Africa," without evidence, we must not assume that the USA is misinformed. Instead, we must question the real intention behind such statement. After Trump's remarks, the US froze foreign aid globally under the pretext of assessing alignment with the policy outlook. For South Africa, this meant PEPFAR funding of HIV/AIDS response was under threat. On 26 February 2025, the freeze became permanent, terminating funding indefinitely. The US aggression towards South Africa is nothing more than Israel's revenge for our moral stance in support of Palestine. Meanwhile, some of us have been labeled international criminals, a designation used before the West assassinates those who opposed its agenda. Before invading the nations, the US always fabricates human rights violation to justify intervention. Today, same tactics are being used against South Africa. The growing calls by right-wing groups for foreign funding to establish independent states and to be armed by foreign interests must be recognized as part of a broader plan. This is the early stage of economic isolation, leading ultimately to military intervention. Next, AGOA will be terminated, escalating tensions between USA and South Africa. Our government must dismiss opportunistic African and racist groups exploiting US imperialism to fund their racist fantasies of an independent state. That will never happen. We will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refuge in America. Deputy Speaker, Trump and the USA are not demonstrating strength. The USA is merely displaying an advanced stage of capitalism, which is imperialism. Trump engages in transactional and manipulative relationships with the world like it is his backyard. The hostility towards South Africa does not come from fraudulent boers spreading disinformation, but from America's imperialist agenda. The USA, home of the world's most sophisticated intelligence agencies, agencies that fabricate evidence to justify their invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, and orchestrated the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi, Patrice Lumumba, Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X, cannot now claim to be victims of disinformation from a minor racist group based in Orania. The USA has openly embraced the golden age of imperialism, extending its power through threats and the prevention and termination of foreign aid. In response, our government foolishly seeks to explain our policies to a maniacal president, as if the USA were a victim of misinformation. The USA knows exactly what it's doing and why it is doing it. At a Goldman Sachs event of the 27th of February 2025, South Africa President Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa stated, I quote, Trump got the wrong end of the stick of the country's land policies. I completely reject this notion. The USA, home of Elon Musk's platform, X platform, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Tesla, Starlink, and Silicon Valley, the global hub of data collection, cannot claim to be misinformed. They are the greatest perpetrators of disinformation. The USA is the greatest perpetrator of disinformation. It is now using its own falsehood as justification to attack South Africa. This government refused to acknowledge the real issues. We are being punished for supporting Palestine against apartheid Israel, nothing else. The USA does not believe there is a white genocide or land grabs in South Africa. These lies are useful tools to justify economic aggression and seek to weaken our moral authority to condemn Israel's genocide. Foreign aid has always been a tool for Western imperialism and control. It must end with South Africa. We must expand our trade and strengthen relationship with China, India, Russia, Brazil, and Singapore, while emphasizing African unity. The USA is on a full mission to extort the world into submission, and as a result will become increasingly isolated. Our sovereignty, security, and economic prosperity on rejecting the American Golden Age, a project of imperialism. The world must move forward without the USA if true progress is to be achieved. We are not the puppets of the USA. We will never be bullied by Donald Trump and his friends. South Africa remains an independent state, which is not handled by the USA. The majority of South Africans love their whites. They worship them everywhere they go. Why will they kill them? They always seek white validation and affirmation of whiteness. It is a black talent. It is a black talent. It is not a black talent until white people say so. If it is a black skill or innovation, it is not until white say so. If it is black quality product, it will have to pass many hands before they endorse this product. Any political party without white endorsement will never receive any electoral support and financial support until white establishment says so. Like the Cuban people will never give up on our freedom against American imperialism. We must unashamedly continue to stand with Palestine and Russia. We are product of international solidarity. We are Palestinians and they are Africans. We will die shoulder by shoulder with Palestinian people. We will be buried next to their graves because no amount of American bullying and financial dictatorship will separate us. Not even death will succeed. From the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. We are not product of land theft or genocide. We are not grabbing any land, but claiming what rightfully belongs to us. We are not engaged in what genocide. Instead, we are coexisting with our white murderers. Whatever it takes, this land shall be expropriated and will be returned to its rightful owners. Victory is certain. Hasta la victoria siempre.
I now invite the Honourable the Minister of Health.
It's about the land. And the people that have run there and pretending to be victims are actually the perpetrators. They're the ones that killed our people. They're the ones that killed the Khoi and the San people and African indigenous people. They're the ones that are guilty of ethnic cleansing here in South Africa. And they're running away claiming to be the victims. They have the land, they have the power, they have the money, they have the security, but they're claiming to be the victims. No, that is nonsense. You guys are the perpetrators. You are the oppressors here. And you are going to give us justice and you're going to give us our land back. And you're going to make sure that we see what you do with that land. That land is going to come back to us whether you like it or not, because it's Khoisan land, it's African indigenous land. The land must come back under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, Mr. Chair. And I think that we are in the situation now that we are because people are not speaking the truth. We see you South Africans. We hear you South Africans. We hear the poor. We hear the people that have lost their land. It's time for justice in South Africa. It's time for righteousness in South Africa. Hulle maak hulle laat. Hulle gaan nooit ons land weer kry nie. Die land gaan terugkom na die Khoi en die San mense. Every African person is entitled to share the land and
Thank
to share
you,
the
Honourable
resources
Douglas.
of this land.
Honourable
Thank you.
Douglas, your time.
Hi guys, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. I am Michelle, and if you're watching me for the first time, kindly don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and even comment. And to my returning subscriber, I really want to appreciate the love, the support you're really showing me. Thank you so much for the love. So guys, in today's clip, we all have seen Julius Malema speaking about how corrupt the white people are becoming. We all know 75% of South Africa is covered by white people, and it's high time they appreciate, because South Africa is a land for Africans, but it seems that South Africa has become a land for whites, which to an extent of which the whites are grabbing lands, are grabbing the black lands, which is not a good thing. It's a bad thing, because we all know Africa is the ancestral background of all black people. So it's high time they respect those people, because that is their land, and they are in their ancestral background. They should not come and start being selfish and think about themselves only. Why should South Africa have a place, a side that is only for white people? Why? And South Africa is a land for blacks. That does not make any sense. It's high time as us as black people, we hold each other's hands and fight for our rights. We should unite, because these people are coming and taking over our country simply because we are not united. We should start being united, because if we're not united, these people will take over Africa. If we just sit at our comfort zone and relax, these people are coming to take over Africa. Donald Trump knows all this, but he keeps on defending these people instead of trying to find a solution for all. South Africa is now becoming the land of whites, which we should not allow that. We are allowed to associate with these people, but they are not allowed to come to our properties and take over our lands. They are grabbing our lands and no justice being done, which is a wrong thing for them to do. Donald Trump, is high time for him to stand up and stop defending the whites. Donald Trump is trying to take over South Africa simply because South Africa has a lot of minerals. South Africa is producing a lot of things that is being needed in America. Donald Trump is trying to take over South Africa simply because a lot of things that are in South Africa are needed in America. That's why he's trying to defend the white people when they are grabbing lands, when he doesn't see anything bad with them grabbing lands, which is not one of the qualities of being a good leader. A good leader should be fair, should be equal, should stop racism. And it's high time at this century and this generation we are in, it's high time we stop racism. Racism is not taking us anywhere. Racism is not helping us. We should hold each other's hand. We should accept the fact that we stop racism and accept the fact that we are one. We came from the same ancestral background, and we should stop racism. We just have to live as one and treat each other equally, because racism is not taking us anywhere. It's just dragging us down. It's high time we choose leaders who cannot accept racism. Tell me why we are still fighting over racism. Tell me why we are still doing the same thing, and we did that during the colonial rule. Tell me why we are choosing leaders who are supporting racism. Tell me why. These leaders are not the leaders we need in our country today. We need leaders that are stopping racism. We need leaders that are leading us to the right direction. We need leaders that are directing us at the right path, because we cannot dealing with one same issue over and over again. We need leaders who are coming to change the world. That's because we all think they're coming to fight for our rights, but these leaders tend to go against the expectations we were expecting. They choose to satisfy themselves. They choose to do whatever makes them happy. They choose to do what benefits themselves, which is not happening at this era. We are going to fight for our rights as black people. We are not going to sit down and being handled like stupid people. We are not going to sit down and see these people grabbing lands. We are not going to sit down. We are going to unite and we are going to fight for our rights, because those are our lands. They are not their lands. They are from we do not have any problem staying with these people, but they cannot come to our country and start taking our lands that we truly own them. That's not fair. We all know that's not fair. So guys, we need to fight. Guys, black people should just start being united, because what these people are taking, the reason why these people are taking over is because they are united. They are holding each other's hands to grab our lands. So it's high time, as blacks, we get united, because we are the most. We need to be smart enough and hold each other's hands and fight for our rights. So guys, if it was for the first time you're coming across my video, kindly don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and even comment. Bye. Let's meet on our next video.